you have complete control over what you put in your mouth. I repeat, you have complete control of what you put in your mouth. So you need to think twice before you eat anything, because it's going to make a huge, huge difference in your lifestyle, in your weight control, in your mood, in your social functions, in your anything. And we know very well that the foods dictate pretty much everything in our life. It's the fuel that transports us through life, and you want to have a good fuel. You want to run like a Ferrari or Maserati. You don't want to run, with a very old car. You need to make sure that you fuel it properly all the time. So when it comes to toxins, we talked about the internal toxins our body produces, then we talked about the environmental toxins and the toxins from food, which are the external toxins. But then we need to consider, so when someone comes for a detoxification process, we need to consider the total load. So when I say total load, is the internal plus the external toxins. So again, when I have clients coming to me and, I need to do a detox, I want to do this, I want to do that. What do you think? Should I go on a juice diet for 3 days or for 5 days to detoxify? I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. You don't even understand what detoxification means. You don't even understand what are the toxins around, in the environment, in your body. Detoxify of this ain't going to happen. But the body doesn't work like that. And there's two phases of detoxification that the liver goes through, which I'll go on later about. They need to understand their function, the way they function, in order to be able to do it properly. So when we talk about the toxic load, when a client comes to me, excuse me, when a client comes to me and they want to do a detoxification, I will explain them all these things before. We will discuss about the toxic load, which I'll tell you now about. And then we decide what is the best route to start a detoxification process. And I will work with different practitioners, or I will supervise this the whole project. So the toxic load contains we need to look at all the infections in the body, that it's part of the detoxification. We need to understand if there's any parasites, any other past infections or current infections in the body. Then very, very important is need to understand any physical phenomenon that happened in that person's life, such as different types of radiation, how many times they were sick, how many, if they did lots of x-rays, if they live in an area with lots of electromagnetic fields. That's important too. Then we take into consideration the lifestyle, all the bad behaviors such as drinking, smoking, etc. Then again, a good coach should look at all the mechanical problems. So all the biomechanical dysfunctions, such as intestinal or other type of obstructions or nasal issues. We need to look into this as well, because this will have an effect on the toxins that the body produces. Then all the hormonal dysfunction, it's a big thing, because if you have this type of we call it hormonal aberration, you will be toxic for sure, because the body won't have enough the right balance, the right hormonal balance. Hence, this will increase the toxic load. And then also, I'm looking at the psychosocial factors, which are really, really important. Stress, coping skills, belief systems, psychological trauma. You're not going to believe, but all the psychological trauma is the worst toxin, the worst burden for our body. We lived a trauma in our past, or different type of traumas, more traumas. The body will release some specific type of toxins that will stay with us in the body for a long, long time. And those ones are the hardest to get rid of. So you need to look into that as well. We need to look into how stressed a person is, all these lifestyle factors that make the stress becoming worse, coping skills, and also if they suffered any trauma. So this is pretty much the toxic load that I take into consideration when someone comes to me and wants to discuss a detoxification process. Why we need, or how we do this detoxification process, or how these toxification processes are happening in the body. So we need to understand that the toxins interfere massively with the metabolism, and they will ultimately overload kidneys detoxification systems. And after that, they will disrupt the brain's weight control systems. They will promote insulin resistance. They will alter the circadian rhythms, hence you're not going to be able to sleep properly. They will activate the stress response, and then interfere with thyroid function, increase inflammation, damage mitochondria, and then leads to obesity. When this is the ultimate thing that will happen if we have a high amount of toxins in our body. Yeah, we will become very, very toxic, and ultimately this can lead to obesity, and if not, so many other metabolic diseases such as cardiovascular problems, or diabetes, or cancers, or all these other metabolic problems. So the key systems that are involved in detoxification, and also obesity, and also all the other diseases, and that are affected by the toxins, are the neuroendocrine immune system. So what is the neuroendocrine immune system? Because we probably heard so many people talking about it, but we don't understand. It's actually the connection between the brain, the hormones, and the immune system, because they all work together. They're all linked. The hormones, the brain, and the immune system. So then we need to understand how they're all being affected by the toxins, and ultimately will lead to disease and obesity. Also, the toxins will disrupt the mitochondrial energy production. So this is what is the mitochondrial energy production? It's how we burn calories with oxygen in our cells to make energy. This is how the mitochondria produces the energy, like how we burn the calories with oxygen in our cells in order to produce the energy. And then all this will increase to more oxidative stress and, as I said, metabolic disease. So what actually happens in our body when we have an overload of toxins? Firstly, the thyroid hormone function is going to be altered by the toxins. The liver also excretes more of your active hormones, so your thyroid metabolism will slow down. And the thyroid receptors, which are like the docking stations for thyroid hormones, are going to be damaged. I can go even maybe in depth here, but it's a bit too medical, so there's like no point to talk more about, but maybe we can do the thyroid function and the toxins in another podcast. But all I want you to understand is that how badly the thyroid function is altered by toxins, and how much they alter the liver too. The toxins will also interfere with the appetite control mechanisms in the brain. So they will promote inflammation, which is going to increase insulin resistance. This will promote fat storage and leptin. Leptin is the hormone that makes you feel full. So this will promote leptin resistance, which in turn prevents your brain from recognizing that you are full. Hence, this is how you explain how they interfere with the appetite control mechanisms in the brain. When we crave all the time sugar, we crave salt, we crave this and that, we need to understand that there is something wrong happening there. There's an overload of toxins that interfered with our appetite control mechanisms from the brain. Toxins, they damage the energy production in our mitochondria. The mitochondria is a little factory that turns food and oxygen into energy in our cells. So you understand that we probably hear mitochondria all the time, but you don't know what the deal with this mitochondria. So it's like a little factory in our cell that turns the food and the oxygen into energy. And the toxins will damage the energy production in the mitochondria. So it goes to a cellular level, which is it's deep. And there are thousands of these inside our cells. And when they're damaged, your metabolism is just, it's done. It's going to grind to a halt. Then oxidative stress and free radicals created by toxins activate certain signals inside your cells to slow down metabolism and increase insulin resistance, which this is pretty big because this is a massive hormonal disruptor. This is going to get you to hormonal chaos. So as you can see, at the end of the day, all the health issues will ultimately come from the overload of toxins in our body. So low levels of these toxins, all the environmental chemicals and the heavy metals, or levels far below are considered acceptable by the Environmental Protection Agency, interfere with our hormonal balance, including sex hormones as well, and these may lead to early puberty in girls and an increase of hormonal disorders. So that's why let's check. I saw kids that are not hormonally well, and this is being expressed on the way they look also. You go to a doctor, you go to a nutritionist, your kid has so many spots and it's obese, but okay, we're changing the diet, we're changing this, but nothing actually happens. I had cases like that. So as I said, the toxins can affect the sex hormones like the estrogen, testosterone, especially when we talk about the chemical toxins and heavy metals, cortisol, insulin, growth hormone, and leptin as well. And obviously, they will also interfere with our stress response and alter the normal circadian rhythm. And also, this is going to have a massive impact on your eating behavior because you cannot sleep. The stress cortisol will be high. This is gonna create, that insulin necessity to get more sugar into your body in order to cope with the stress, and so on. You're gonna get into this terrible eating habit that will have a massive, massive impact on your overall health on a long time. So why can we not sleep well? We need to take into consideration again the toxic load in our body and how this influences your neurotransmitters function. Go and tell you guys how to detoxify, or we can maybe do this into another podcast, because when we talk about optimizing detoxification, it's like a whole new era that we go into, and it's just so less considered nowadays. As I said, people just do very, very little in order to detoxify properly, and I have a lot of good tips for you, because what can you do about it? Yes, you can do a lot. When I say you can do a lot, there's two things you need to understand. You need to avoid toxins, first of all. In order to avoid toxins, you need to understand which ones are the toxins, and then boost your own detoxification system. And that's another whole new podcast that I'm going to be talking about next time. So it was a pleasure to be with you. I hope you took a lot from this podcast. I hope you understood a lot. If there's any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. You can contact me via email, andrea@probodystyling.com. You can go on my website, which is probodystyling.com, and you can send me a message and I'll be right back to you. You can also find me on all the social media channels, Instagram, which is Andreea_Tina, Andrea with double E. Twitter is the same, Facebook is the same. So we will stop here today, but on the next podcast, we will talk about how can we avoid toxins at our best ability and how we can boost our detoxification systems for optimal health. And this being said, it was a pleasure to be with you today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for watching ProBody Talks. We will be bringing you more guests in my upcoming episodes. Great inspirational human beings, so stay tuned. We have a lot of valuable information that I hope will inspire you all. In the meantime, you can support us by subscribing to my Patreon account. Thank you and goodbye everyone.